Hi, this is Cynthia Ortiz. It is part two of the Charles Perry Stalker podcast of November 24th, 2021. And happy Thanksgiving, everybody, except for, these guys after me. I hope you have the shittiest Thanksgiving ever. So we got to do a second one because Mr. Perry caused skips in the last one. That is called altering evidence, sir. This is evidence for court. You've altered it, you changed the content. You've done that before a lot of times, don't you? Hacking my email, typing up stuff while I'm typing, changing what I'm trying to say, who I'm sending things to, and podcasts. You should know what I'm doing right now. These aren't live. This is recorded. So when there's skips in it, you can see me in my house. You can hear me, what I'm saying, and you can watch me on my phone. And we're all pissed about that. That's why you're in a lot of trouble right now. You weren't caught in your crime until you fucked with me. Until you started peeping and hacking and bothering me. Write it down. I'm tired of repeating myself. So, use allegedly. We got to do the disclaimer again. Use allegedly. Apply the but for and reasonable person standard to this. But for Mr. Perry's injury to me, I wouldn't have to address it. And it is to establish mens rea, and he's premeditated crime. Also, because I'm not going to wait until after he does it and then say something. We get a recording of him and then we put it out, and it goes to my attorneys first, and then we put it out. Some of it we don't put out. Actually, some of it my attorneys have and nobody else has it. So we have a lot of recordings that I've typed up that we have a lot of recordings I didn't type up. We have a lot of recordings I did type up, and only my attorneys have it. No one else has it. And then some goes out. And it goes out to establish the I told you so factor is what. The I told you so factor is it's premeditation. So we can't wait till after he does this stuff to me. We have to do it before. If if I get a call from my cop friends and they're like, you can't go to work tonight, he's going to try to kill you. He's going to have somebody run you off the road. Clearly I can't wait until after he runs me off the road to say something. We have to say something before. There's the McNamara email. There's the Mike was drugged email. There's the harassment email. I mean, we are establishing premeditated crime. He sat down. He had a meeting. He talked about, here is what I want to do next to cause injury to Cynthia Ortiz, where she lives in the state of Oklahoma. I have to write it. I have to put something out first. Then when he does it, we have, yep, he did it and he premeditated it. He intended to commit a crime. Because all of that matters, especially in a criminal case where one might assert a defense of insanity. He can't do that if he's shown he intended to commit a crime. He might have Alzheimer's. He might have a serious mental illness. It's not going to matter if that mental illness and that sickness or that disease caused him not to know what he was doing was a criminal act. And that's Texas law. I just studied that. Remember, I'm in criminal justice college. So I just studied what you have to do. I studied the Andrea Yates case. So I'm studying the Andrea Yates case and what is required. You start showing consciousness of guilt, Mr. Perry. You can't assert insanity defense in any state. Because the knowing it was a crime is the key language in that law that allows you to do that. And Andrea murdered her kids and then told the police I was trying to save them from whatever demon was after me. And actually, I have a friend that did that. I've been around a lot of crime in my life. My granddad was the chief of police, so it's interesting how much crime I've been around. I had my best friend in high school was Anna Davis. Her dad was Robert Earl Davis. And he did the biggest prison escape on July 4th, like 1980 something. He was a cop, APD officer, who got caught in an auto burglary ring. Then he escapes from prison. I was actually with her on that day. We were wringing our hands, worried that he was going to get shot by the police. So that she was my best friend all through high school. And then I had my friend Tanya Vasilev. Murdered her two kids, stabbed them over 200 times each in Chicago. This was not something we saw coming. I mean, I never saw her yell. I never saw her get angry. You know, everybody can hear the anger in my voice at what I'm going through. She didn't yell like that. I mean, she would purse her lips. Really, you could tell she was upset. You could tell if she was unhappy, but you couldn't tell when she was angry. She didn't rant or anything. And so here all of a sudden she's killing her kids. One was 3. The little girl was 3. The little boy was 9. And in fact, she had bruising on her from him, the son heading him off of her. It was awful. She also said the same thing. I was sending my kids to heaven. They were going to be molested, and I wanted them to not suffer. So those 2 women, both were found they couldn't stand trial. They were, insane. They asserted the insanity defense and qualified because they did not know what they just did was a crime. Andrea Yates and my friend Tanya. Gosh, after that thing with Tanya, my whole family did not eat or hardly do anything for about a week. We were devastated. She had clearly some mental problems, so I think she's better now. But of course, that will never undo, that tragedy. It was bad. And then I'm the victim of video voyeurism. I'm the victim of stalking, hacking. The victim of racketeering, fraud, obstruction of justice, destruction of evidence, attempted murder, battery, on and on. I mean, Mr. Perry, just every day it's something. So now, yeah, there's a lot of different ways, as I was trying to discuss in the last one, that you can deal with these type of things when you're in the middle of a crime and you're the victim of a crime. You can either become like the offender, or you can try to find a way to do good with it and fight the crime, and that's what I've done. And for all he knows, I wasn't sent to Lubbock just to catch him. See, I mean, these guys keep asking me if I'm a cop. I've said I'm not. I have a title. I'm not going to tell you what the title is. It's not your business. It's a need to know. You don't get to know that. I'm also explained to you that you can ask me if I'm a cop. If I'm not a cop and I say I am, that's illegal. I'm a criminal now. If I am a cop, I can lie. So what difference does it make if I answer that question? Are you going to believe me if I say no, I'm not a cop? You keep asking me if I am. What I'm saying is I'm involved in a police investigation that has something to do with your online peep show, your dark web thing. We have a witness, and I've said what the witness says. As long as I've known Charles Perry, he trolls women. He's a troll. He puts cameras in their homes when they're not home, and he broadcasts them on the dark web and makes a profit off their body. Most of them don't know it. How does she know? Well, she has help. She's fighting the crime. That's what I'm doing. I'm not becoming like you. You're pathetic. You're a pathetic nobody. I'm fighting the crime. You were abused as a kid. This is the part he caused skips in. I'm discussing criminologist Lonnie Athens. He's a professor at Seton Hall University, and he wrote a book called Why They Kill. And there's also videos on it. There's YouTube lectures that you can watch of Mr. Athens. I think he's great. I really do. He's talking about the need for a violent offender to subjugate. People want you to do something for them, and you don't want to do it. And instead of respecting your rights and wishes, they force themselves on you against your will. And that often leads to murder. And he talks about only 1% of the population is a violent offender. That he was abused as a kid. Violent. He goes into victimization, brutalization, severe child abuse that fucks up somebody's head. It makes them weirdo. And they become also a violent offender. But you know what? We all have choices. Mr. Perry certainly has money to pay cops off and then get mad that he didn't get his cover up. I understand it's like $25 million plus dollars. And so what he could have done is pay a doctor to go get him some help, right? We all have choices. We all live with them. He can live with his choices, right? Like we all do. Every day he gets caught and he does the same thing. There's never a date. There's never any reciprocation. His crime's caught. And yet he does the same thing every day, over and over and over and over. And nobody understands that. What in the fuck was your goal? What in the fuck was your goal, sir? Was your goal to get caught? Because it looks like it was. I mean, years ago, when you all sat down and had your first little meeting on here's how we subjugate Cynthia, here's the email about the economic. We're going to fight. We wanted to find her a job where we control her money, we control who she talks to, and we know her schedule. And you asked a couple of people about that, and you've been turned down so far because everyone's like, gosh, we have a business to run. We don't want her distracted with your drama. So no, we're not going to hire her and have to deal with you. Nobody wants to deal with you. You're a criminal. You're causing problems. You're bothering everybody. Aren't you? I said a long time ago, leave me alone. You chose to ignore me, my wishes, and the law. You're breaking the law. And you know you are. Because you always try to cover it up. You're showing consciousness of guilt. You don't qualify for the insanity defense, sir. You're showing that you know what you're doing is a crime. In Texas, if you want to assert the insanity defense, you can't know what you're doing is a crime. You're definitely insane, just not insane enough. Not for that. So your consequences are going to be really pretty bad. Texas is also really big on the death penalty, aren't they? More than any, they have like all more. They have more. Death penalty, whatever. Than other. I mean, that's where you live. That's where you live. That's what they do. Is you kill people, you get the death penalty. They kill you. You reap what you sow. That's where you live. That's the state where you live. So, Mr. Perry has continued to do the same thing every day, get the same results. He doesn't get a date. I'm not in love with him. He makes my skin crawl. Absolutely makes all my skin crawl. He's subjected me to severe abuse, economic, psychological, and emotional abuse. When you cause a woman a loss, especially the loss of her kid, there's no greater injury than a loss of her child. So our witness says he puts cameras in women's homes and broadcasts them on the dark web and sells watch time. And he makes a profit. And he's a sadist, a sexual sadist. He likes causing them loss. When they cry, he'll go jack off. He's a sadist. He's a sick man. He's a sex weirdo. So, I'm glad somebody's finally putting a stop to it because I'm tired of sleeping with one eye open. I guess Mr. Perry solicited this man's money he's got investors. So, apparently this guy did not want to be any part of that. And he talked to our guys. So, that's what he's done to me. Well, he takes the kid, he'll get him fired. And then he hacks them so they can't find another job. And then they lose the house. Then he has the ex take the kids away, the guy said. And he said, did he do that to Cynthia? And our guy said, well, he had her parents take her son away. And he tried to do the same thing with the younger one. And we made sure that did not happen. She didn't lose his custody of him at all. And when that happened, I had a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house. I had clients, consulting clients, and I had about 10 grand sitting in a bank. Because my son's oldest dad had paid some back child support. And I had regular child support coming in. So I was starting to get on my feet after going through divorce. And I had, at that point, I'm a soccer mom. I had not even been in a strip club in my entire life. I was a soccer mom. I had a bunch of, had some clients. So I also had a medical supply I was selling to athletic medical supplies to Texas Tech athletes. So I was doing actually pretty well, and my parents have a drug treatment program for kids. My son starts having behavioral problems. Well, I'm not going to put up with that. I didn't want to have to bail him out of jail. So who if you can't trust your parents, who can you trust? So I call Lynn and Kathy and ask them to help get my son into their teen challenge of New Mexico. And instead of he was getting better, but when it was time for him to come home, all of a sudden they went and filed for custody. No reason for that they should have gotten custody. Charles did that as well. We know he did. He likes buying judges. We know that. We do know that Judge Cummings' rulings, a lot of those were actually made while they were all out hunting. And Charles and Judge Cummings hunt together. Also, there's some questions. They keep using the 3-panel judge in the 10th Circuit. And I'm going to tell you right now, there's more than one law enforcement agency, Mr. Perry, who have speculated. And I'm not going to divulge what I know and what I don't know. It's none of your business. We're going to save that for your criminal case. So what the speculation is that the three judges that made the decision that they made on my appeal never even saw my brief. It was all done by a law clerk. You bought a law clerk, and the law clerk did it. But the actual judges that are on that paper never saw my case. So please write that down, Mr. Perry. That's been said over and over and over behind your back by people in law enforcement that are looking at my case. You're not getting away with it this time. You're not. I know you think you are, but you think a lot of things. You think that peeping is a date. It's violating me. It's rape. We are not a couple. You're a stalker. You're breaking the law. You're just this guy here, bothering and bothering. She's screaming at him, leave me alone, leave me alone, leave me alone, leave me alone. Oh, just give me 2 minutes. Nope, I don't want to hear I don't want to hear what you have to say, whack a job. I don't want to hear it. You know how many years I've been saying the same thing. I don't care what you think. You weren't asked. You're just a crazy man making crazy rants. I don't want to hear it. I said, get off me. Just the same thing. I said, leave me alone. Get some class, trailer park trash. Get out of my life. I want to know, what does Jackie, Matthew, and Jordan think that you're doing right now when you're bothering me? What do they think? Would you lie to them to tell them what you're doing when you're sitting around, perverting around all day? You had a choice, sir. You were abused as a kid, and I'm sorry that you were, but you had a choice. Be her slave and her bitch forever and become just like her, or rise above it. And you chose to be pathetic, just like your offender. She still owns you. You're still her slave. You gave her all the power when you did that, when you became just like her. And my choice is different. Also, my son, my youngest son, I'm going to tell you something. When we lost custody of Tristan because you did that, you enjoy watching women get upset. You're a sexual sadist. You go jack off when a woman cries. You're a sick man. You're a sick motherfucker. So when you did that to my son, my youngest son, wailed. I can't. I don't want to say too much, but it hurt him. Like, I can't describe. It hurt both of us. We had a hard time putting one foot in front of the other for a long time. We did it, but it wasn't easy. It took a lot of prayer. It took a lot of making sure you focus on what's good, because there's always still something good. I think I made the comment that my older son had appendicitis, the one that we lost custody of, because I was trying to get him help. Oh, by the way, a few months after they got custody of my son, Lynn and Kathy got in trouble for abusing kids that were at Teen Challenge, and one of the facilities was shut down. The other one was investigated, and they did have to make some changes. New Mexico State Police did that, and we appreciate what they did. They were very helpful. We were on the phone. I was on the phone all the time with the governor's office, the lieutenant governor's office, some administration from CPS, and there was news stories on it. I did a radio interview on it. So they're abusing kids, and they won custody of my son. I've never been accused of abusing a kid. Neither one of them. My oldest son alleged initially that he was scared of me. So when I went into court and I said, that's kind of funny, because he can pick me up and throw me. He could put me in a coma if he wanted to. He is knocking down 6-foot, 300-pound football players on the field, knocking them flat. I'm an itty-bitty person. So what is it that he thinks he's afraid of? Well, they backed off that and changed it. I don't even remember now what they changed his answer to, but they changed 2 or 3 things more than once. And that's kind of the modus operandum of Charles Perry. Like I said, normal people never have to buy a judge. We don't butt into everybody else's business. We don't try to cause each other hurt. We try to stop hurt. That's normal. So when I'm in Manford and I walk into the laundry and there's about 4 people talking about how weirdo Charles is, and the black SUV everybody saw. By the way, I had texted Dave Robertson about the black SUV and forgot all about it. when you're traumatized, you forget things. And there was 2 or 3 significant facts that I forgot because I was traumatized. When you're false arrested, that's going to traumatize you. That's probably why Officer Lee couldn't remember even the events leading up to what happened to them in order to testify for himself. I was a little upset with him that he wasn't thinking like a cop, but yet understanding of the fact that when you're traumatized, you can't think. It's hard to pull yourself together and think logically. You're just overwhelmed with emotion. And but he's a police officer, and he was pointing out immediately, I don't have any injuries on me consistent with a fight, much less a deadly one. I don't believe you. But thinking past that, and looking over his own case like I did, he's a police officer. He could have done the same thing I did. But I believe he was so overwhelmed and probably threatened. It wouldn't, I'm not going to, I believe that they were Charles and his people were over threatening him in that jail a lot, so that he's scared and then didn't testify for himself, because he really should have testified for himself. And I wanted to testify for him. I wanted to be the voice he could not be, because the man is a victim of attempted murder. Lucky's family deserves to know that their dad died in the line of duty, not in a drunken brawl. They deserve that legacy, because that's what happened. We all know that's what happened. So, the people in Manford, I mean, it wasn't too long after that murder that someone was banging on my door, and I opened the door, and this person said they got them both. They got them both. Everyone knew. Everyone knew you guys did that murder. You have not fooled anybody. I've had a friend that looked at a picture of Michael and said, you don't have to be a cop to see he could not have done that murder. You don't have to be raised by law enforcement to see he could not have done that murder. Couldn't have done it. You don't look like that. He looked, and have been in a fight that killed another human being. I mean, considering what Chief Miller's... let me go back real quick right here. They want to control it's economic subjugation is what this is. This was caught this morning. When Charles Perry fucks with me, that's what happens. We get this. He never gets a date. It's been this way for years. It's the same thing every day. He doesn't get the date. He gets caught. So who keeps doing the same thing every day and getting the same results? And was that the goal 6 years ago when you had your first meeting? I don't want a date. I want to get caught. That goal's met. I mean, it is. So when you look at Officer Neely, you just can't argue that there's no way he could have done that. First, I'm going to show what my kid who was in a fight. You can tell he was in a fight, and he was actually not even in a fight. He was in a little skirmish, and he was hit 3 times, and then he didn't hit back. A security guard comes, everybody goes home, everybody's fine. Look at his face. Look at the blood all over his shirt. He's got a busted lip, bruised eye. So Chief Miller has, look at this guy, nothing on it. Look at his hand. The arrest report said nothing on the left hand, no injury on the left hand. Red swollen right hand, no other injury. The other injury was a busted lip that happened, it's not the same event. It happened after they were found. Hotel John was a jackass, pulled Mike off Lucky and threw him face first into the floor. There is a needle in the right hand. Might that be why it's red and swollen? This irritates the shit. This guy is sitting in prison. He's going to miss a second Christmas with his family and a second Thanksgiving with his family because you guys fucked him over. And then you want to come to me with a handout who told on us? You're shitting me with this, right? So, again, we've been over all this stuff over and over and over and over. And you do the same thing that gets you the same results. When you fuck with me, there's never a date. You're a 10-year reject. I have nothing for you but disgust. The thing in your head is not in my head. You disgust me. You sit and watch me on TV and feed this fantasy that's not real. And you look, my guys laugh at you. So if you see me laughing, I'm thinking about something they said, making fun of you. I'm thinking about something they said, making fun of you. Has nothing to do with you. I don't think you're funny. I think you're awful. I think you're hideous. I think you are a monster, a villain monster. Every time you mess with me, you guys get caught. And you keep going at it like you want to get caught. I've never seen anything like it in my life. Never. Did not know it was possibly be that stupid. I had no idea. So this guy is in prison because of something you did. We're very pissed off about it. Everyone in Manfred knew you did the murder, not them. Everyone knew you're a weirdo because everybody talked about it. It was not a secret over there. You're not fooling anybody. This black SUV that we used to talk about, oddly, was also in my text to Dave before my false arrest, which really, I was surprised. I was like, wow, I forgot all about that. She's talking about the black SUV with Texas plates. I'm asking Dave the same thing. Back when, where is it? I'm not going to go through all this right now because I have shit to do, like a serious busy day today, and I really didn't have time for this, but again, we got to document. I don't have a choice. So, well, son of a bitch, where is it? We had the other thing is, when I got home from jail, I started going through my Microsoft was telling me I had to buy a membership or clean out my storage in OneDrive. So I'm going through to clean out my storage in OneDrive, and I find a letter to the U.S. attorney, telling him that this man is harassing me and he's got cops, he's using police. And I'd forgotten about that too. I forgot about the conversation with police and then what led to that letter until I saw the letter, and I was like, oh my God, you just, like, when you're traumatized, you forget things. Like, it's your brain's way of coping with the trauma, from what I understand. This is the letter about Officer Neely being drugged 3 months before it was confirmed in depositions right here. Because you guys got caught, Charles. You didn't get the date, you got caught. Write it down. So you forget things when you're traumatized, like the black SUV that I'm asking Dave about. Now I can't find the fucking text about that. They're somewhere. Maybe here. No. There's a whole bunch of texts that I wrote to Dave Robertson before my false arrest that had nothing to do with politics. All of that was, all of it was about stalking. Fabian. Charles interfering with Fabian. Charles butting into my life. Here they are. Right here. And I'm talking about a black SUV, and I've forgotten all about it. This is stop grabbing my crotch. No, I'm not going to stop grabbing your crotch. So I'm talking to a detective at TPD, and again, I'm traumatized. The chick on the unbelievable Netflix special, it's based on a true story, that was raped. They accused her of filing a false police report because she got mixed up on her story. When you're traumatized, that happens. It's part of being traumatized. You're emotional. You're not sure. You're like unsure of yourself a little bit. You're trying to remember things. You're trying to put things back in your, it's, I don't know how to explain it. You forget stuff. You don't remember exactly what happened. Your mind is trying to protect itself from what has just happened. And Mr. Perry, don't contact me. Listen, stop contacting me. He likes to type in my computer when I'm trying to do these. I said stop contacting me. Stop. Leave me alone. Nobody asked you what you think. No one asked you. No one asked you what you think. Stop. I don't want to hear it. So, I'm telling the detective she's like really kind of going at me, and I'm the one that wanted to go talk to her. And the first thing she said is, same thing TPD always says, we don't look at evidence here. So that was the first thing she said. The second thing is, I asked for an attorney. She wouldn't let my attorney come in. The third thing she said is that when Dr. Russell said that I needed to, when Dr. Russell said the arrest was a stalking escalation, this detective actually had the nerve to say, well, then you need to find a different shrink. Wow. Yeah, what's your medical degree, detective? Worst detective I've ever met in my life. Mike and Lucky didn't treat me that way. I need to make sure that's very clear. Mike Neely and Chief Miller did not treat me the way that TPD did at all. I'm raised by 3 generations of police, good ones. My granddad's name's on the front door of the police station where he was the chief. So I have a high bar when it comes for law enforcement. I work with 40 cops that are helping me. They told me what he just said today. We got to do economic subjugation and find her a job. Yep. So imagine what I'm thinking when this detective is saying, and this is the first detective at TPD that said, we don't take evidence here. We don't look at evidence here. But okay, wow. That's going to come back on you later when you're going to have to explain why don't you look at evidence. It's your job. I'm paying taxes. So you can eat and you can have a roof over your head and I'm taking care of you. And that's how you're taking care of me? So, anyways, the next thing that happened is she's like, so you let him grab your crotch? And I was like, yes, I had to get my evidence. Well, I didn't mean, yes, I let him grab my crotch. I meant I put up with shit. I always said, no, don't grab my crotch. I'm saying it here in writing. I'm saying it right here in writing. But when when you're traumatized, you're just like, I'm just trying to answer the question. I let Mr. Robertson get close enough to me so I could get my evidence. The same way I did with Pinto, same way I did with Mickey James, same way I did with everything. There was no consent in him grabbing my crotch, ever. What I said yes to was I let him talk to me. I let him talk to me after he kept trying to grab my crotch. The thing that they did after that also is send a bunch of guys in to grab my crotch. I guess to see if I let people do that. So my prosecutor tells me, let me tell you something, how this works. You can tell every guy in that room, yes, you can grab my crotch. But if you tell David Robertson, you can't, and he continues to do it, it's still sexual battery. It's still sexual assault. You can let every guy on the planet grab your crotch. But if you tell him no, and he continues, he's committing a crime against you. And I know you don't do that, but even if you did, it's still a crime because you told him no. There might be a reason you don't want him to do it. Maybe he's got some hand disease. Maybe he's got, it might be a reason you would let everybody else but not him. You told him no. You're telling the detective you'll talk to him. Didn't mean you'll let him grab your crotch. And you can see, before my arrest, we're having this. I'm like, do it, quit, don't grab my crotch. Well, I can't promise I won't. I'll stop. So, there's that. Worst detective I've ever had to talk to in my life. Lucky and Mike were not like that at all. Nobody in Manfred was like that. I've never seen anybody be like that before. Okay, then there's, here it is. See the date, October 24th, 2015. I'm talking about the black SUV. I forgot all about that. That it was coming around me prior to my false arrest. If that's not stalking, I don't know what the fuck is. So, I guess that's pretty much going to sum it up. Mr. Perry caused the skips mostly around my conversation about Professor Athens was abused. Professor Athens is choosing to use his abuse to help other people to determine crime causation. How do we stop the crime? We get CPS more involved. We get people some tools to overcome the abuse and to make better choices, even for themselves. Because when you do exactly the same thing that your abuser did, they still own you. You're still the bitch. You're still their slave. You don't control shit. They do. So if you think that you are doing all this stuff to me because you like control, you're wrong. You are not even controlling your impulse. Your very offensive impulse. You get told on every time you try something. So is that your goal? Because it seems like it is. You do the same thing every day. There's never a date. There's never reciprocation. You get told on. So it looks to us like that is your goal. Some guys need help being stopped because they can't do it themselves. Is that the goal? Do your partners know that? Do your investors know that? I said, leave me alone. Listen, I'm going to say it for the last time. I don't care what you think. You're just a crazy man making crazy rants. I don't want to hear it. No one asked you. What you were asked to do is stop contacting me. Stop peeping, stop acting, get the fuck out of my life. Get out of it. You guys weren't getting caught until you went at me. And since every time you go at me, you get caught. And at this point, at your age, you ought to be able to put the correlation together. It's unbelievable. It's like the gift that keeps giving. It's so easy, it's not even fair. So leave me alone. I don't want to hear from you. I don't like you. I don't want anything to do with you. I came to Oklahoma to get away from you. I was supposed to help get you elected, and that's it. That was supposed to be the end of my job. I have somebody else in my life that I care about, that you butt in. You've butt into that. Had we been able to make some decisions for ourselves, it might have been that we decided we couldn't stand each other for more than 5 minutes. But guess what? You robbed us of that. Even that. That's our choice. That's something we decide, not you. You don't tell me what Fabian thinks or what Fabian wants. Fabian is a grown-ass man who can do that himself. You do not speak for him. You do not speak for me. You do not make any decisions for me. You fuck off. And you go be with your family and you go be with your friends. Because a lot of people are starting to question why you're not in Lubbock and why you're not being seen with your friends and family. And you do need the alibi, and you're slow and you don't seem to get that. Get the fuck out of my life. Get out of it. I don't want you in it. Leave me alone. Thank you.